sponsor, which is we're gone live. What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast, and we've got a fun one tonight. It is going to be very information driven, and we got the opportunity to meet our guest. Not this past the iCast, but the iCast before, and chit chat with her, and come to find out, she is an iBass 360 member as
Yep.
well, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we've got some other questions and stuff that we are wanting to ask her. But again, guys, you remember it is a interactive podcast, so if you have any questions, which I'm sure you're going to have questions, especially on some of the topics and stuff that we have, guys. But with that being said, I am Colin Burnett.
That's right, Colin, and I am Norman Lee. You know what, Colin? We have something pretty special happening right now, and we're about to make the big announcement. Okay, guys, the wait is over. It is finally here. The Deck Talk Podcast merch is now available to order, from stylish tees and hoodies to sunburst fishing towels, beanies, and tumblers, constructed from the highest quality materials. They are made to last and look attractive. Join the Deck Talk Podcast team by sporting our merch. Go to www.flotg.com and simply scroll down to Deck Talk Podcast, then click the link. Taxes and shipping is included on each purchase. Man, you know what, Colin? That's some exciting stuff right now.
Yeah.
We've been waiting a long time to get our merch out, and we're gonna have more coming as well. But anyway, you were spot on, Colin, with tonight's guest, and we have been looking forward to this show for a while. But anyway, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it and try to give this lady the proper introduction that she so well deserves. Okay, here we go. In 2009, our guest tonight started an evolution for women in the sport of bass fishing, as Real Girls Fish was branded with shirts, jewelry, and accessories centered around lady anglers. Real Girls Fish has been featured in many major events, including the Bassmaster Classic, the Forest Wood Cup, and at ICAST. 2023 was the inaugural season of the East Texas Lady Anglers, a tournament trail founded to help women anglers gain experience while being in a competitive and friendly environment. As an ambassador with a mission to help, promote, encourage, and mentor young ladies who are interested in bass fishing. It is our privilege to have joining us tonight Denise Sustaita. And what do you know, Denise? I think I really got that last name wrong as we talked earlier, but what's going on, Denise?
It's okay.
Yeah.
You got really close. It's Sustaita, but what a fantastic introduction. Thank
Oh,
you so
man.
much, Norman and Colin. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. We're excited about it.
So, Denise, the last time that me and you talked, you were kind of going through, well, your neck of the woods was kind of going through a rough period. And I seen some videos that you've done where, I mean, the waves and stuff that was on Rayburn was crazy.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
because y'all happened to have a hurricane come through here, what, it was a couple months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was around July. It was around July 4th time period. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of crazy. Rayburn's kind of gone through a lot of changes lately. We were extremely, extremely low, and then we got the hurricane, and then now we got really, really high, and and now we're kind of dropping again. It's like it's all over the place. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. We did have that storm come through, and we didn't. No one really knew what to predict because it wasn't a huge category storm, but it
Right.
brought tons of wind, tons of it was mostly the wind and lots of trees down, lots of power
Right.
lines down, all of those things. So a lot of folks in the East Texas area and surrounding areas, were without power for quite some time,
Oh
and
wow.
we were some of those that fortunately we didn't have any damage personally, but lots of people did around us. So
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah. And I mean, because I was watching those videos and stuff that you was posting on Facebook. I mean, and they're I guarantee you those are like 6, 7 footers at least that you had on Rayburn. I mean, because that wind was just howling, and I mean, no, there was no bank that was safe on during that time.
Oh,
It was
absolutely not. No, it was actually kind of funny. I went down there on purpose because we were right there on a deck, just kind of watching the storm come in, and she had a generator, and so we were, just kind of sitting there, just I mean, you could feel it. It was really, the winds were great and everything, but looking at it and what we were feeling and what, if you videotape from where we were sitting, it did no justice until I went down there and really got
yeah.
the wind and you could really see the waves and how the wind was pushing me. And I mean, that was not staged. That was for real. And I was like, I have to get down there so that people can see what's really going on here. Cause from up here, it just looks like a beautiful day and everything,
Wow.
Right.
Yes. After a storm like that on Rayburn, how long does it actually take with all that storm surge and everything pounding away? How long does it take really for things to get back to normal and fishing to get back to normal up there?
Yeah, it just depends. Unfortunately, the marina that where I live nearby, lots of damage was done as far as the marina itself and boat stalls and boats themselves and things like that. But fishing itself, again, I just kind of go back to the whole scenario of how unstable it has been lately. We went from extremely low water to extremely high. We went from one end to the other, and then had the storm in between. So it's just been crazy. They've also on Rayburn have been doing some work on the dam, which is one of the reasons. Not only was it the summertime normal low pool, but they've been doing some work on the dam as well, and so that's also been a factor in the low waters. And so it's just been very sporadic this year for Rayburn. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I wouldn't say anything's been really normal for a while. So
So on Rayburn, do they like? Because here on in Chattanooga, like on Chickamauga, Nickajack, the TVA system and stuff like that, which I mean it includes a bunch: Watts Bar, Chickamauga, Nickajack, Gunnersville, and so on. During the winter, we drop, or not we, they drop the water down, and during the summer they'll raise it back up. Does Rayburn have something like? Do they do that during the summer and winter? Do they drop it and raise it during that time?
yeah, I don't think that it's something that's done like intentionally, on an annual basis. I mean, I think it's more just, weather driven kind of thing. Uh, you know, but not necessarily. I mean, obviously we're a reservoir and we don't have,
Right,
the river system that some of these, other river systems that, where they actually fluctuate the water
right,
level. And I would say no, probably not as much
Yeah.
on Rayburn. So.
Yeah, I was going to
right,
say for some place like Rayburn in Texas, where they draw ours, like Chickamauga and Nickajack, they draw ours down during the wintertime because of the runoff and everything from the mountains with the snow and everything. I would
yeah,
think Rayburn, like Texas area reservoir, is very similar to like Florida, like Okeechobee and the lakes around Okeechobee, especially the bigger bodies of water. They'll actually draw them down in the summertime because of the hurricane season, where Texas, is subject to hurricanes coming from the Gulf. So I would think
Mhm.
that our Texas area probably would be the complete opposite of like us here and would draw them down more so for the summertime versus
In
the
the
wintertime.
summertime. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
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 So we have a question already on Facebook that says, "Is with you living on Rayburn, is your biggest bass from Rayburn or another lake?
It is actually from Rayburn, yes. Yes, I caught that fish. In fact, it's probably the fish that started me tournament bass fishing because it was a local tournament years ago, and she had literally just spawned, and I mean her belly was just so flabby and still just really you could tell she had just spawned. And I happened to be fishing a tournament, and she was right at 9 pounds, and they said
Wow.
had she not just spawned that she'd have probably been about 11. So,
Really? Wow.
yeah,
You're like, if I could have caught her a day early.
exactly, exactly. And and it's crazy because I'm still chasing that double digit, even though I live on Rayburn. I'm still chasing that double digit, but yes, she did come from Rayburn, and I was fortunate enough to be in a tournament, and so it was a day I'll never forget. So,
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
And I'll let you know, and which Norman can attest to. He's got, with being down from Central Florida, he's got multiple double digits.
uh,
But that first double digits is something. It's like a big old weight that just lifted off your shoulders.
yeah.
I mean, because I've been hunting the double digits, and we've gone to ICAST the past 3 4 years, and every time we go down there, we'll go fish Lake Placid, Sebring, and then go down to the Everglades and stuff. And Norman's always like, "We'll get you double digit. We'll get you double digits." Well, after the first time that we went, I think the biggest bass that I caught in down there was what, Norman, about seven and a
Yeah,
half was the
yeah.
biggest that I caught.
Similar runner.
And
But your
it,
first year, the first bite you ever had, the first year we went
oh
down
yeah,
there
that
together, was probably your biggest opportunity. You
yeah.
missed it, but she's probably close.
But and then we got back, and then probably about a month later, I went to another lake. The first time I ever went to fish this lake, and I was throwing a Demiki vault, and I had my dad with me, and I was filming, and I had my best three fish that I had caught was over 21 pounds.
Nice.
And my dad, I hooked one that was over 10, and my dad went to go net it, which everybody's heard this story. He went to go net it, and the fish decided it was wanting to go up underneath the boat. Well, he just seen that it was starting to dig, so he went down
Stabbed at it.
and hit. All you heard was the aluminum around the net hitting the Demiki vault, and then the Demiki vault go zing.
And
And
and and
so
and those of you that don't know what a Demiki vault is a very small blade bait, and it has two very, very small treble hooks on it. So when you hook a fish that big, like Colin, I think his biggest that day was like you had two close, very close to 8, and then I think one was about 6 or something like that, somewhere in
I
that
had
neighborhood.
I had 1 9
Yeah,
and one a hair under 8, and
yeah.
another one that was right at 7.
But when you hook a fish that big on a Demiki vault that's that small and has that small of treble hooks, and the first time you see it, your heart jumps to your throat because you know what you have her hooked on, and you're like, "Oh, please,
Oh no.
Lord."
Yeah. But I did get, Denise, I did get last year. Actually, it popped up on my memory last week that I caught it on Facebook. And so it was a year ago last week. I finally broke the 10 mark. And you still want to, every time I go out there, I'm like, I
Oh,
still want a 10.
yeah, yeah,
And
And so,
congratulations. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean,
but
everybody wants to hit that double digit, and Texas has a share linker program, and they've changed the rules a little bit the past couple of years, where it used to be a 12 plus, and now they have categories, and so I think that for a lot of Texans that bass fish, that's also another big
yeah,
bucket list. If you can get a share linker, man, that's saying something.
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Not only do I want a double digit, but I want to share lunker. So
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, I was gonna say too,
let's be
Texas.
specific here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was gonna say whatever Texas is doing, they're doing it right too with the fish
Right.
management. You see it every time that BASS, the Elite Series, and the Bass Pro, every time they go to Fork or one of those Texas lakes, and you see the quality and the big fish that's being caught. I mean, it's on a daily basis, and with what they're doing with like Fork with the Lunker program, where you have to release them. You can't even a tournament, you can't possess them. It has to be
Mm.
a weigh and release type of deal. You know, Texas is really doing it right, and I just wish a lot of other states would kind of follow suit to how Texas is working things to help
Yeah.
protect their fisheries.
Yes, I agree. It's closed right now for renovations, but Texas, in Athens, not far from Tyler, uh, in between, say, Sam Rayburn and Lake Fork, there is our Texas freshwater fishery, and I have been to that and toured it multiple times, and like I said, it's under renovation right now, but it is where our share linkers go, and it is you can go and you can tour the facility normally,
Yeah,
and you can they've got ponds, you can fish there, and what it's just a phenomenal place to take your family and just go learn the process of what Texas does, and it's a I highly recommend it if anybody's in the area. Of course, like I said, right now, check out the website, but right now it is closed due to renovation. But normally, yeah, if you could get out there and take a tour of that facility, it's pretty cool.
wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Brenton asked, "What is your favorite bait to throw right now?"
Yeah, I tell everybody all the time, and I'm going to say it again. My favorite, I always have on the deck. Anytime I'm out fishing, I'm going to be throwing a Texas rig worm. I mean, that's just my all-time favorite. I love it. I
Yeah.
love feeling the bite. I love, working the worm. I love throwing it out there in whatever depth it is that I'm fishing. The structure. Yeah, I feel in the bite, all of that stuff. But I mean, just like any other angler, conditions. It just depends on the conditions and where you are and
Yeah.
what you're doing. Of course,
Yeah.
summertime, as if there's some early in the morning or whatever. If there's a frog bite's always fun. The other day, I say the other day, it's probably been about a month ago. My daughter and I went out on the water and just for a couple of hours, and boy, we just whacked them on crankbaits, and that's just one of those days that that's what they wanted. So I guess any angler would say whatever they're catching them on that day, but it's my
Right.
Yeah,
favorite thing to throw. But
yeah.
it's no secret that my favorite style of fishing is a Texas rig,
Now,
and
do
so
you
Yeah.
yeah.
do you have a favorite go to worm to throw on it?
I was throwing a Texas rig when I caught that fish we talked about earlier, and on that day, that particular day, which I threw that, I still throw that style of worm for a lot, was Knoll Monster, and mag, something with a
Yeah,
ribbon tail, some sort of worm like that, and then the Cincos. I have been throwing. We have a local bait company who I have been really using a lot lately is cross baits on Rayburn, and they've started to spread, a lot around the Texas area, and even starting to branch out even into some other states now. But they have one it's called a Sicko, and it's very similar to the Cinco, and so that's what I've really been throwing quite a bit here lately. And it's just a great worm, and so you can throw those so many different ways. You can,
Very true.
yeah, you can Texas rig it, you can wacky rig it, I mean, and they just seem to be a good go-to.
yeah,
If I have someone who's not very experienced, and I just want to give them something that I feel pretty comfortable that they're going to get a bite on, that's what I would probably put
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always, when I grew up in Nashville, and I mainly fished Old Hickory Lake.
Oh yeah.
And so I went out with my dad all the time, and then my granddaddy. He had a boat and stuff, but he always, his mentality of fishing was we catch and we eat. So his mentality was, let's catch fish that we're going to eat. So we done a lot of crappie, bluegill. We caught a
Catching
bunch of
fly.
catfish, and I finally talked him in to. I think when I was like 9 or 10, talked to him. I was like, because I watched the classic, and it was right after Iconelli won, and I was like, I want to bass fish, and so we started bass fishing and stuff, and that's what I mean, for the longest time, I thought that's how you caught fish was on a Texas rig. That's
Yeah.
that's the only thing. I mean, but I was young, and but I mean, still to this day, I uh, I have a Texas rig tied on. It's on the boat. I mean, it's on the deck of my boat all the time. I mean, because you don't ever know. You might come up down. There's been times where I've been throwing a micro jig and I've come across this downfall, and I'm like, "Oop, Texas rig," and
Yeah.
flip it over there to it, and
Yep.
next thing you know, I'm pulling out a 4 or 5. So I
Sure.
mean, it.
But
But you're right though, Denise, with that with the Cinco. I mean, you cannot go wrong putting the Cinco on a Texas rig. Uh, the ribbon tail here is more of a summer time bait to where you'll switch from the Cinco to the ribbon tail, and then like now we're switching over to like a crawl. So, um, but you can still go out there with the Cinco and
yeah,
catch them all year round,
yeah.
though.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
the thing about a Senko too is you could utilize a Senko anywhere you go in the United States, whatever lake you fish.
Yeah,
There's always opportunities to fish a Senko no matter where you are, and that's one thing that's cool. And that's why even like Colin myself, I always have a Texas style or Texas rig tied on, and but you can pretty much fish them no matter where you go, and no matter what lake you're on, there's always going to be a situation that you could throw a Texas rig in. So.
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I actually have a story, Denise,
Okay.
about Rayburn. So it has nothing really to do with me. Is my grandpa? He was the senior VP for Genesco Shoe Company, which was a women's shoe company, and um, he had to go to a conference or something like that in Texas, and one of his time off, somehow he got to fishing, out fishing uh, on Rayburn, and I think it was the late '60s when he was fishing Rayburn, and my dad was telling me that he came back from that trip and he was all about. It might have been early '60s because my dad was still uh, he was still just a little kid, so it had to be early '60s. But that's where he learned what a Texas rig was, and that's where he was like, I don't care what kind of bait you have on a Texas rig, it has to be purple. So
Oh,
that's where everything was like, I don't care what it is, it has to be purple. It has to
purple.
have
That's funny.
purple in it. And so, but he had, I can remember seeing pictures and stuff where they used to do like have boards and they'd catch. I mean, back then they were still 7, 8 pounders, and they'd hang them up on the board, and they'd show. That's how they would show their fish off was on a board,
Yeah.
Well, that
and
has to have been if it was. Well, I want to say Rayburn was built in '65, so it must have been
it
mid
might have been
'60s.
mid
That
'60s.
was
And yeah,
yeah, that was the early Rayburn days for sure. I mean, the
yeah,
lake was
Yeah,
still probably fairly new then at the time.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
And
and
so,
I'm
which my dad's on here. I seen where it said that on the Facebook that it said that he was on, but he
Yeah,
can correct me when it was. He can remember stuff like that.
yeah,
that's
But
awesome.
he told me I was talking to him earlier, and he says, "Make sure you tell Denise about that Rayburn." And so,
Hey,
yeah,
purple's
but
hey, Dad, purple is still a good color.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, and this is probably gonna show my true age right here, but purple, the purple worm dates back probably all these fancy colors we have today wasn't always there.
Right.
No.
And back when first started bass fishing, back in the when I was a little running around, my parents trying to keep up with me, back in the late '70s, very early '80s, purple jelly worm was the thing back then. But you didn't have all these other fancy colors, all this glitter. But purple was the worm. Purple was
Yeah.
one of the only worms that you could get anywhere you went. Any place that sold bait and tackle was the purple jelly worm. And
Yeah.
anybody that remembers a purple jelly worm, it actually was around back then. But yeah, I don't know if they even do anything that's called a jelly worm anymore. But that was actually it. That was the worm back then, and kind of shows my age a little bit. But yeah, the purple worm goes back probably further than any other color. And
Wow.
Yeah. That,
and
and
again,
then the cream worm too.
yeah, yeah.
So
Nowadays, I don't think there's a color that's possible that they don't have something in.
no.
Yeah.
Right.
So true.
So Denise, how did you get started into fishing? Was it something that you grew up in, or did you kind of just picked it up as time went on? And so,
Yeah.
how did you
So
get into it?
yeah, I actually grew up in the Houston area, and so fishing for me actually started saltwater, Texas City dikes and Galveston and things like that. So, hey, bite down. Hey, that must be Joseph. So yeah, I grew up in the Houston area, and so just as a kid, my brother, my dad, and I would go wade fishing, saltwater trout fishing, redfish, specks, yeah, all of that stuff, and so that's actually how I started fishing. And then Dad later in life he started fishing some local club tournaments down in the Conroe area and things like that. And this is talking about back in the day. This was probably back in the '70s as well. And so he did really well fishing some tournaments, some club tournaments down there in the Conroe area. I think that's back in the days. I've heard my uncles and dad before they've passed away, but talk about Zell Rowland and those guys. They would fish with those guys back in the Rick Clunn, those guys back in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And so that was when they were fishing. Like I said, the local club tournaments, and then Dad eventually wanted to retire and move to Rayburn. And fortunately, before he passed, he was able to live that dream just for a little while. And he bought a lake house there. Oh gosh, I was probably in my early 20s when early 20s when he bought the lake house and on Rayburn. And so I grew up. That's when I started really fishing Rayburn a lot,
Yeah.
Right.
and so we would go every weekend. And then it started to where I didn't want to come back. We didn't want to go back home to go to work. Nobody wanted to go home. We were going straight to work on Monday morning, and it was just like, how can we, make this work where we can live here. And then I eventually bought the house next door to my family lake house, and I've been there since, and found a way to make it work and live
Yeah.
there and love it.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
is
how
Now,
it all
awesome.
started. And then
yeah.
bass fishing tournaments actually started. Like I said, we were fishing a little local tournament on Rayburn that day when I caught that one that I mentioned earlier. And then I started to want to learn. I wanted to fish more tournaments, and actually, the Big Bass Splash, which is the Sealy Big Bass Splash, started on Rayburn many years ago, and now there's several different locations, but that's where I started really fishing tournaments there on Rayburn, and it's just it's an hourly Big Bass Splash tournament, and would fish that every year on Toledo, Rayburn, and Fork. And then one day, well, I sent, and that kind of leads into Real Girls Fish. That's how Real Girls Fish started. I was going to fish one of the Steely Big Bass Splash tournaments, and I wanted to. I ran to the local store academy to get me a shirt, and there was nothing for women that fit that was for us to wear, and like
Right.
fishing. And I had to go to the men's section and buy the ones with the big, the big pockets, and the chest
Right.
area, and they just didn't fit right, and I didn't like it, and so I started making my own, and that's how Real Girls Fish actually started. Uh,
That is awesome.
That's
yeah,
cool.
so I started making hats and shirts, and the Sealy Big Bass Splash allowed me to set my booth up at their tournaments, and that's really where it started. So it kind of led
Wow.
led into the other. And then I was set up at the Bassmaster Classic one day with my Real Girls Fish booth, and a girl from the LBA tournament came up to my booth and said, "Why aren't you fishing LBAA?" Well, I didn't know about LBAA, and that's how that started. So
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how just little things lead
it's
into
crazy.
bigger things and the opportunity. Just you taking advantage and taking that step out has led you
Yeah.
into all the different things that you've been able to accomplish and be able to travel around fishing and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing to
Yeah.
see how
Yeah.
it's all kind of come together.
It
Yeah.
really has. It really has, and it is crazy. Even though I started Real Girls Fish in 2009, when I started fishing competitively with the LBA, I mean, there's only one of me. I have a full time job too, and so it's like you can only do so much. And so unfortunately, I had to kind of slow down a little bit on Real Girls Fish so I could travel all over and fish competitively. And then that led to the East Texas Lady Anglers because we wanted to grow. We wanted to grow women in tournament angling, and one way to do it that we thought would be, let's do it on a local level, and that's
Yeah.
how East Texas Ladies
Yeah,
started. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just you're right. It's incredible how full circle and how where it all has gone. So
That's
right.
awesome, and you're a mentor to a lot of young ladies who are inspiring to fish, who are inspiring to be fisherwomen.
yeah.
But growing up, did you have a mentor? It could have been a man or a woman back when you were a child that kind of inspired you to wanna fish and wanna do what you're doing today.
I mean, obviously, my dad's side of the family was very well. We're all very competitive, so in anything we do, don't get a card game going around our kitchen table,
I've
But
never met a
Okay.
fisherman or fisherwoman that wasn't a
Yeah,
competitive person.
that's how we had a bunch of family fights as a card table.
but it's funny because I mean, I mentioned it earlier. A lot of my uncles fished and fish tournaments and things like that, and so I grew up, fishing, and so obviously dad and uncles were very instrumental in that and in teaching me. But when it came to tournament fishing, not so much. Unfortunately, my dad and my brother passed away at a very young age, both unexpectedly, and so I when it was Deb Warner who walked up to my booth at the Bassmaster Classic and asked me why I wasn't fishing LBAA. I was like, first off, I had never heard of it, and second of all, I don't think I'm good enough to fish, that type of tournament trail. And it was very intimidating. I didn't think that I could do it. And that year, it happened to be starting in Dallas, which was there in Texas. And so she's like, just come try it as a co-angler. And to be quite honest with you, when I went to that first tournament, I was a nervous wreck. I didn't know anybody other than Deb, and I didn't think I was good enough, and I just remember that feeling that I had and how intimidated I was and how terrified I was. And then, once I went from the co-angler, I learned. So to answer your question, I learned so much from the ladies of the LBAA as far as tournament angling, just from being a co-angler. I mean, honestly, they are
Yeah,
so willing to help you. They were mentoring me and didn't even know they were mentoring me. Let's put it that
right.
way. And so I give so much credit seriously there, and it just goes back to the way I remember feeling that I always wanted to be able to give back because I remembered how I felt, and I wanted people to know that that's normal. That
Yeah,
it's normal to feel that way, and we've all been there. And the only thing that's holding you back is yourself. Get out there and just try it. There's people willing to help you, and whether you have someone at home to help you or not, there are so many
yeah,
different groups now, which leads kind of into all the other things that are going on these days with women in angling. It's crazy how things are just progressing, and I'm so happy to see it.
yeah. Now, do
Yeah.
you think because we've all got mutual friends with Lori and Beth with Two Chicks in the Boat. Um, and we've been able to the past 2 years to be able to when they come to Chickamauga to kind of see how they run them and help them out and stuff like that. And one thing that I really have to commend them about, and you kind of hit on the subject too, is how willingly they are to like regurgitate information and help
Yes.
other anglers because it's fishing is a familyhood and it's a community and stuff like that. And so, but there's times like I've fished and Norman's fished in tournaments to where the people we've gone out and if something was to happen to you, they're just like, "Shh, I mean, you're on your own." But I mean, here uh, this year they were on Chick and they had a lady that her batteries died, and uh, I mean they were it was halfway through the day, and people came and boats were coming to help her. They stopped what they were doing,
Yeah.
and ended up going and helping the lady out and stuff. But I have seen with that community that they were just more willing to help, give advice, and it's not that they are wanting if you fish tournaments before or not. They don't care. They would rather prefer you not to fish tournaments before to where you can enjoy that atmosphere and so um, with that being said, do you think with having those other little tournament series for women that's dedicated for women, is that one thing that you think that has really exploded the women in bass fishing or fishing in general?
I don't know that I would say that it is what made it explode, but I would say it definitely helps. And I feel
Right.
like that is one of the reasons why we are doing it. I mean, there are
Yeah.
now several trails out there, that have gone more on a regional or local level for that reason. Not everybody can afford, to travel across the United States. We as ambassadors in the sport who are as passionate about it as we are, we want to do whatever we can to help grow it. And
Right.
and so with that being said, there are those of us who have started, our own trails like East Texas Lady Anglers. There's, two chicks in a boat. The Women's Bass Tour that, they were tri-state, Texas,
Yeah.
Louisiana, Mississippi. I mean, there's several of them out there. I think that even Fork may have a small one too that just stays there on Fork. But my point for saying that is there are different options now where there weren't really
Yes.
before. Well, I can't say that either. Back in the day, there were. I mean, so you had the lady Bass and Gals back in the day, and those, but again, I think it just goes back to the passion and to wanting to continue to do whatever it is we can to grow this, the sport, women in
Right.
the sport, because that's the only way it's going to grow. And I feel like there has been so much push lately that now we're really starting to maybe see a difference. You're right that I've been to ICAST for the past 2 years, and we've participated, several of us ladies that are very passionate about this push. We're at a social the night one of the evenings, and I mean the room was full. I would guess there were probably over 100 ladies in that room,
Yeah.
and then in the morning the next day at 6 o'clock in the morning we're up and we are there in the convention center, sitting at the table ready to do a breakfast. And the breakfast is a lot of information on like the fishing community, the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation. I mean, this is a nationwide foundation and organization. And it's interesting because they're giving you the stats. They're telling you, what the growth looks like,
Right.
and what they're seeing. And it's interesting to see those numbers. I have said them before, and I actually took a screenshot so I could say it again. This year alone, at that breakfast that the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation, they said that in 2023 alone, additional revenue to our industry from women was $1.63 billion. Um,
Wow.
yeah, women went fishing in 2023. 21.3 million women went fishing in 2023, and it's the highest number on record. So that
Wow.
goes
That
to
is
show
awesome.
Awesome.
you that the growth is there, and I'm excited to see those that are paying attention and now trying to assist in that growth. I was so excited this year to see a woman on the humongous poster boards at ICAST. I don't think they've ever had a woman on the poster boards
Mm-mm.
before, so that was really cool to see. And then to this whole push with BASS and the Bassmaster,
Yeah.
that's super
Yeah. Yeah.
exciting
Yeah,
for sure.
that was a big deal to for Bass
Yeah.
to even make that jump to even because they're showing their support
Yes.
and for the women angle because they know that that's I think that in years to come it's going women in fishing is just going to explode kind of like how kayak fishing just all of a
Oh,
sudden just
absolutely.
blew up
Yes.
and and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some of these girls that have been fishing high school and that's fishing in college that it would not surprise me to see them on the elites here sometime soon or in the Bass Pro Tour
Yeah.
and fishing with the MLF. I mean, they're just
Oh,
as
it's
good as
coming.
these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's coming. I 100% agree. And I don't know if you guys have seen, but the just recent announcement with Toyota partnering with three of those ladies
Yeah.
Anastasia, which is one of the spokesperson for Bassmaster, was one of the ladies, and
Yeah.
I was able to meet her at ICAST this year, and she spoke at our breakfast, and let me tell you, she's incredible.
Yeah.
She has been fishing for most of her life, and her story. I loved hearing her story, and I think it's interesting because a lot of people think, oh, because we're women, and oh, now we're getting these sponsorships and things like that. People are starting to recognize, or oh, just because they're a woman. No,
Mm.
these women, us women, a lot of us women, we put in the work, if not as much or more than
Yeah.
some men
I think
out
it
there.
has to be harder for women to get sponsorships really than the guys.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
just because people's mindset is well fishing's a guy's sport. And it's
Well,
not.
I think you're right, but I also do believe that because the tournament trails that we have out there right now, we push and push and push for more anglers, and of course, it always goes back down to the bottom line, the dollar, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, for a sponsor to want to invest in an angler, they want to, of course, have a return. Understandably so, it's a
Yeah.
business, but and so when you have um a tournament trail that's only bringing in 10 boats versus a tournament trail that's bringing in 100 boats, that plays a factor in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, I will say that you're right too about the high school and the college series. We saw a lot of the sponsors go to the high school and the college series whenever that blew up, and which was fantastic. You started to see some more young ladies fishing in those, and what happens, that hopefully will grow and they'll continue on.
Right.
um, but I also do have to say that women, not that men don't, but women really appreciate when they get a sponsor because of how hard it is to get a sponsor.
Yeah.
Right.
And we work, like like I said, as hard, if not harder. And we, promote. I try to do everything I can for my sponsors because I appreciate them so much, and I know the value, and I know that I couldn't do it without them.
Right.
And so absolutely, it's exciting to see that some of the bigger, sponsors are taking notice. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's and I kind of how I look at that is like sponsor wise, like it used to be to where you have to fish a big tournament series to be able to get sponsors.
mhm,
And then they finally noticed like the social media people, the
mhm,
YouTubers and stuff like
mhm.
that. And so then that kind of expanded, and then now the women, now they're starting to see that the women in fishing is just exploded, and that these women uh, are doing just as well.
Yeah.
Uh, they're able to go and like uh, oh shoot, what is it, Christine, is it Christine Fisher?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we talked to her and oh shoot, you just talked to is it Anastasia?
Anastasia. Uh huh.
We talked to them at the classic this year, and it's they're able to do just like what we do: show product, talk about the product. They're well
Sure.
informed, and they're able to sell a product without being half naked on a
Yeah.
on a video. And
Yes.
that's what and I think that's kind of where like sponsorship has kind of was lenient at first about giving women, because all you seen that's especially on any kind of TikTok or anything like that is people, the women that have the big following, they're half naked on the thing, and
Yeah.
that's all the people. And so they're not really fishing; they're just showing their self half naked. And then when you actually have women like y'all that are actually out there fishing, catching fish, and you can talk about, well, I was doing this when I mean, because I guarantee you when you can go back to catching your biggest bass that you can tell us exactly like where you were,
Mhm.
how you threw it, and what you were doing to be able to catch that bass.
Sure.
Yeah.
And uh, and I think the sponsors are actually, or these companies are actually seeing that, and they're like, well, these ladies are actually wanting to help grow the fishing industry.
Yeah.
They're wanting to get more women involved, and so let's hop on. And they're
Yeah.
finally starting to realize that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And you said it earlier, Christine Fisher. I think it was earlier today or yesterday. She posted, a post about, the thank you to Toyota for including her in that group as well. And I have not. I don't think I've met Christine Fisher in person. And if I did at ICAST, it was just very briefly. It was we've met so many
Right.
people so quick, but I I read her story and was, just blown away. I mean, again, she's just one of those that just she's worked so hard and so deserving of it.
Yeah.
And it just, you read the comments on some of those things where people are like, oh, she just got it because she's a woman. And
Nah.
it's so upsetting because you don't understand the work that we put in it just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the girls with the, bikinis or the whatever, and that, that aren't really putting the work in out there,
Mm-mm.
it's sad. It's sad for especially
It is.
us, those of us that are really, ambassadors in the sport, like I mentioned before, and really passionate about growing it. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes that sets us back a little bit, and people don't take us serious, and that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah.
Right.
So Colin and Norman, I'm going to stay on, but I'm going to move my computer and come over here
Okay.
because my computer is telling me it's about to die, and we don't want that to happen.
Uh, you're
So let me
good. You're
plug it up.
good.
All right. So, all right, we're good.
Okay. Um, a question is, what can we do as a fishing community to be able to give more awareness to women fishing series?
I think just spread the word. If you know of any of these groups or trails or whatever, just spread the word.
Yeah,
Let all your women friends know. Share if are part of any of those groups on Facebook. Share, share, share. I guess it just depends on how much you want to help. Support them. If you're in a
Yeah,
position to sponsor them. If you are a podcaster like you guys, I mean, this is so important. These things, you don't know how much I appreciate being able to do this, because this is all part of it. Spreading
yeah,
the word. If they're podcasters, continue to invite women to talk about it. If you are in a position to um, you know uh, whatever it is on social media, do it. I think it's
yeah,
just a part of just being a part of it, and
yeah,
helping it grow in that sense. So
yeah.
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because like guys, when we first met Denise, again, it was 2 years ago. Actually, we were on the docks
Oh yeah.
and we were filming uh, some of the people that were with IBAS, and I didn't even know that you were with IBAS at first. But what caught my eye is you were uh, you were putting the fish into y'all's bag, and they were fishing on Toledo, and I mean,
Toho.
in
On Toho,
Yeah.
Lake
Sorry,
Toho.
sorry,
Yeah, in Florida.
and uh, and you was just pulling out these big old bass, and I'm like, I gotta talk to her. I mean, and then because I think we had on IBAS shirts, and then that's how we ended up talking about it. It was with IBAS and stuff, um, but it was just what I really enjoy, because I don't care who it is. If somebody wants to sit and talk about fishing, and I'll talk fishing with them. Like I was out at the ramp the other day, and I had my boat ready, and I had this gentleman come up, and I talked to them for 45 minutes. I missed the early bite, and because somebody was wanting to talk about, we got talking about fishing, then got talking about forward facing sonar, and then filming and all this and that. And my dad's over there, just usually it's my dad that has, we have to pull him away from people. And but that's how we met with Denise, was just at Toho,
That's right.
and we just started chit chatting, and then the next thing we know is we're all part of iBass 360, and then we met up later on in iCast, and um, but I think, to me, like the one of the reasons why Norman and I wanted to have you on, Denise, is one, when you talk to people, and especially in a field that you enjoy and that you know, and you talk to them and they can respond back to you, and be able to understand what you're saying, and it's just so enjoyable, male or female, it doesn't matter. And uh, and I just enjoy talking to you. I mean,
Okay.
because we're from two totally different parts of the world, and we love the same thing. We love going after green big fish. So
Absolutely.
um, but we also want to see bass fishing grow
Mhm.
with if it's with kids or if it's with women or males or anything like that. We don't care. We just want to see it grow, because there
Yeah,
is uh, opportunity for bass fishing to grow. You don't have to go and do all the tournaments and stuff
Right.
like that to be able to enjoy it. But if you get, there's something about being at the water, it's just relaxing, and
That's
it's therapy. And so, but when you can meet somebody that you can talk fishing, like we've been on here for 55 minutes, and we really hadn't even we just been chit chat. It's not, and so, but that's the reason why we wanted you to have a platform because right now we're at almost 1,200 people that is on here on 9 platforms.
Awesome.
So we wanted you to be able to have a platform to be able to share that because it is important to us to be able to spread the word and I really enjoy going and watching women weigh in just because they're hilarious. Just to be just to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
well,
you
well, I was going
go
to say,
ahead.
too, we always talk about fishing and the fishing family, the fishing community. And that's one of the cool things about being a fishing, whether you're a man in the sport or a woman in the sport, or a child or a kid in the sport that loves fishing, that's inspiring to be a fisherman or a fisherwoman. We all share one common denominator. We all love the sport. We all love outdoors. We all love to be able to pull back on a green and brown one. And that's what's so great about our sport is it is a family. It is a family. Whether you're a man, woman in the sport, and that's one of the cool things. We could all get together and basically talk fishing. And like talking to you, Denise, it is a fishing family. And 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 again, we all share one common denominator. We all love the sport. Like Colin's saying, we get on the podcast and we have a whole hour elapse in time, and it just seems like we've been talking for 20 minutes because we love what we do. You love what you do, and we're talking about something we all enjoy to do. We all enjoy getting out on the water and just sharing that one common goal that everybody has that loves the sport. Whether you're a fisherwoman or a fisherman, we all love to fish, and we love to share our stories too. So, and that's one of the cool things about having someone like you on as well is that you are just so inspiring to listen to because you are a very well educated when it comes to the sport, and you have a lot to offer as well, whether it's to us where we can learn a lot off you, or women watching. No matter what, you have a lot to offer to the sport. So that's another cool thing about and again, it's all about learning too. I don't know any angler, and if you say you don't, you need to give it up because I don't know any angler, no matter what level you fish at, that doesn't have your ears and eyes open when you go to the ramp, trying to pick up little
Yeah,
techniques from others that you could gain some information on, just to help you be able to improve your game on the water. So, and listening to you, it kind of all rolls around. Very knowledgeable, but it's just fun to be able to sit back and talk. And again, it all rolls back to we all have one common thing. We all love the sport of fishing. We all love to talk about fishing. We all love talking fishing.
That's right.
yeah,
You said that earlier, and I never claim to know it all. I don't. And in fact, I'm complete opposite. I always worry that I don't have enough to offer, and
yeah,
so I feel, but I also go back to what I mentioned earlier about knowing how I felt the first time or the first
Yeah,
few times and how intimidated and terrified I was against these ladies that I just thought the world of and thought they
yeah,
were, there's no way I could compete against this level of angler, these level, of lady anglers. And so that's where I think the passion comes from for me, because I want to help as many people as I can to overcome that fear and to just know that
yeah,
it's okay to go out there and go fishing. I'm always learning.
yeah.
Even today, I want to continue learning as much as I can.
yeah,
Everything I've done has been self-taught. I have, for the most part, other than when I was a kid with my dad, but most of it has all been self-taught, and I work my tail off before I go to a tournament. I'm doing the research before I get to the water, and then of course once you get to the water is a whole nother portion, and it's like
yeah,
you work hard because it's your passion. And so with that being said, that's why I also decided 2 years ago, this will be my third, to be a high school boat captain. And so I wanted to give back, and I wanted to teach whatever it was that I could, to whatever anglers that they gave me. And my
Yeah.
gosh, was that so rewarding. I had a blast. I've enjoyed it so much. They don't know how much I got out of it. I mean,
Right.
I absolutely loved it. And which is what inspired me to go to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department and get certified to do angling courses through the Texas Parks and
Oh,
Wildlife.
nice.
So yeah, so
Great.
I'm now certified and am going to try to find time to start doing some courses. And so it's also part of what inspired me to start East Texas Lady Anglers too, because I wanted to give, from high school, it's not everybody doesn't feel comfortable going from high school to, the national trail. I mean, that's a lot. That's a
Right.
big step.
That's a
Nobody.
big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I wanted to give them something that was a little more on a local level, and that's why we started. And we just go back and forth between Rayburn and Toledo Bend, and those are huge lakes, and there's people,
Yeah.
I mean, that's Louisiana and Texas. I mean, and so if anybody is in the area and interested in fishing with us, I thought, well, and it's not as big of a stage. They can come, have the camaraderie, learn, have fun, and then if they want to go to the national level, go to the national level.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's what started that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's one thing that I want everybody to, if you can find a local women's trail that is around you, male, female, or whatever, go to the weigh ins. I mean, because these ladies, they're serious about fishing.
yes,
But when it comes, there's something different. They're having fun. It doesn't, it, I don't want to say they don't care if they win or lose, because they do. They're out there to win. But from what I've seen going to weigh-ins for like a women trail and stuff like that, they're just as happy for somebody else to
Yeah.
win as they are for themselves to win. And us as males, we can learn a lot from that, because I know when I was fishing tournaments and stuff, I mean, it was all serious. Like, we wouldn't talk to nobody at the weigh-ins because we're like, oh, we're better. Or you hear, I lost a big one, or I lost one at the boat, or I tried to boat flip a 5-pounder and it came off. You hear a lot of the excuses, but at the women's, it's more of less they just enjoying the time out there. They're having fun, and but they're competing
yeah.
just as hard as what we are.
I hear that all the time, Colin. People tell us that all the time when they come to our way, and they're like, "Y'all, the camaraderie is just different. It's
It
just different."
is.
And you're absolutely right. We are the best of friends off the water. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
most of us all stay at the same, host hotel or marina or whatever, and we grill together, we eat together, we share stories together. But when they start calling boat numbers, it's on,
It's on. The lights are on. It's time to perform.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
my dad says, Denise, thank you for your time. Do you find that there are more interest in taking care of the water we fish and teaching sportsmanships while we are out there?
Oh, for sure. I know anyone that I've ever met in the tournament trails, in the women tournament trails I'm speaking of. I've fished some opens as well, and so I speak for both. But for the most part, the women trails that I've fished, conservation is so important. And that's also a big piece of the Texas Parks and Wildlife certificate that I got. Was a big piece of it was the conservation part and taking care of the waters and the fishery and the keeping fish alive and the catch and release and all of the good things, because it all goes back to what we said earlier, where it's all about growing the sport, and without
Yeah.
that we would have no sport, and
Yeah.
so
Right.
yeah, it's not only mentoring the young, anglers out there, but it's also teaching the importance of
Yeah.
the conservation, and that part is very important as well, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Amanda says there's definitely something special about women's camaraderie in a male dominant sport.
Yes.
So it is. And I mean, even if you do not fish tournaments, but you like to go see some big fish, and it might not be a fishery that has that 6, 7, 8 pounders or whatever, but these women are bringing in some good bags, no matter where they're at,
Yeah.
um, and that camaraderie that they have is no other tournaments that I have been to. And Norman, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, that you've been to as well. That um, these women are just like what you said, Denise. They're sharing the same. They're at the same hotel. Then they're going out to eat. They're spending so much time. It has become a friendship slash family when you're on that
Absolutely.
tournament
Yeah,
trail.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to where us guys would be like, just leave me alone. I'll fix my baits. I'll do. don't don't bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
No, it's
but
definitely.
yeah. So if somebody, Denise, is wanting to follow you or wanting to follow the East Tennessee or I done it
You
again,
did it.
East Texas, East Texas ladies anglers or Real Girls Fish, how can they start following that?
And
Yes.
also, before you answer that, Denise, the East Texas Lady Anglers, if there's anybody watching tonight that wants to join your group, is your tournament trail, is the East Texas Lady Anglers, is it a team tournament or is it a draw? Could you join if you don't have a boat, if you want to just hop on another captain's boat and join, or how does your tournament work as far as the teams, and if somebody actually wants to join your East Texas Lady Anglers?
Yeah, ours is a boater co-angler format, and we do a draw the night before. We have a meeting the night before. We go over rules. We do a draw. So, the unfortunate part to that is you have to have enough boaters, obviously, to
Yeah,
have
Right.
to have. I wish we had an unlimited amount of boaters because we always have a waiting list for our co-anglers. And so, ladies, if
right.
you're out there and you have a boat, come fish with us. But
Come on.
we have our last tournament is coming up. It's September 7th on Rayburn, and so it's at Jackson Hill, and so to find us, it is East Texas Lady Anglers or etxla .com, which is our website. And or feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm always available to answer questions. Call me, Facebook me, message me, whatever. Um, but yes, I mean it is a. I have been inviting ladies to come out because we have had people who are just not sure that they're ready to make the step to come fish a tournament, and so we've had some new ladies this year, and I can't tell you, they are just, and they tell me, I mean, I'm not speaking for them. They tell me that they're just, they love it. They will be back. They're already registered for the next one. And so I've invited some ladies to come out just if they want to come and eat with us, or just come in and meet us at the meeting, or like you said, calling the weigh in, come
Yeah.
out and get to know us. We're happy to answer any questions, help
Yeah,
you any way we can, because I guarantee you, once you try it, you're done. You are
Yeah. Well,
done.
that's what I was about to say is I was talking to Lori and Beth and then Angie Scott, and which their last tournament was on Kentucky Lake. And um Angie had brought somebody that she worked with and to fish the tournament. She had never fished a tournament before, and they done pretty well.
yeah.
I don't think they won the tournament, but they
They
done
cash.
well.
They ended up cashing a check.
Yeah, and so, but by the time it was done, said and done, that lady was like, "I'm coming back.
Yeah,
It's
Yes.
it. I'm hooked." She had
yeah.
never fished a tournament before in her life, and but just being out there, and which
And
we've heard stories like that before, like last year on the Two Chicks in the Boat, they had a co-angler that she was just hopping from boat to boat last year, and she says, "I'm tired of hopping from boat to boat. she went and bought a boat, and
Good
now
for
she's
her.
being able to have somebody.
That's
Yeah.
So it's amazing just how it just grows,
Yeah.
and it's always, I mean, you always see a smile on their face,
Yeah,
and
and that's what
uh,
Angie said too. It was the lady that came along and fished with Angie. It was her first tournament she's ever fished,
yep,
and that's in Angie's words too. Is she was hooked after this tournament, and sometimes that's all it takes is that's how you grow the sport, you know. And even if you don't fish tournaments, but
that's
if you have a boat and you like to go out and recreational fish, if you know somebody, man or woman for that matter, if you know somebody that doesn't get a chance to fish that much and wants to hop on your boat, take them fishing. A child, a kid. That's how we grow our sport. Take a kid fishing.
yep,
Take a woman or a man that doesn't get the opportunity to do it. Take them fishing, and that's how we grow the sport and get somebody else hooked that might not necessarily have a chance to get out there otherwise. And that's all about growing the sport, and that's kind of what Angie said too. Once this lady fished with Angie in this tournament, they actually won some money, and this girl was hooked on it, hooked on the sport of fishing after that. So that was awesome to see and awesome to hear
yeah,
from Angie as well. But that's how the sport grows.
You're right. And I'm so glad you brought up Angie's name because I wouldn't be doing, the sport justice without mentioning Angie's name as well, because she is a big pioneer also in
Yeah,
this industry. And she is one of the ones who helps organize the women's social at ICAST. Her podcast is amazing. She
it
yeah,
interviews
is,
so
yes,
many people from all over, not just fishing, just women in the outdoors. And so she has a big focus on the women out there as well. And
yeah,
so kudos to Angie as well, because she is definitely one that's out there doing it as well. So for sure.
yeah,
And and you said something about no, it's not just tournament fishing, and you're right. It's not just tournament fishing. Not everybody wants to be a tournament angler. And I met another group of ladies that are from the Houston Galveston area at ICAST called Fishionistas.
yeah,
And so they are some amazing women. They are not a tournament trail. It's just a group that want to support other lady anglers out there. It's a platform for you to go to be a part of. You don't have to be in Texas. You can be anywhere nationwide. And they congregate virtually. They congregate socially, and it's just a place to talk shop,
yeah,
and I love those ladies. Like I said, I met them, in Orlando at ICAST, and we've become really good friends. And they're not all tournament anglers. They just love fishing, so you don't have to be a tournament angler.
no,
So yeah, so there are groups, ladies. If you're out there and you just want to become part of a group, and you don't necessarily want to tournament fish, or not sure if you want to tournament fish, there are groups out there. And like both Norman and Lise and Colin said, we are friends. They're from the other side of the United States. Well, not the other side, but we're
yeah,
long ways away from one another. But I have met people all over the United States. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to point you, to anywhere. I have friends now that are anglers all over the United States.
yeah,
So, in both freshwater and saltwater. So I'm happy to help if you have any questions or want to reach out. So
yeah.
absolutely.
And the thing is just kind of like what you've hit on is you can't, if you have questions or you're wanting to try to get hooked up with somebody that's, I mean, if you're in the Texas area, contact Denise for sure. I mean, but if you're, let's say you're in Missouri, well, none of us are in Missouri, but we know people
Oh,
that
sure.
we can always, if all you got to do is just extend that off. I mean, just say, hey, I'm in whatever state. We know enough people that we can get you in contact with whoever you need. And we know enough people that all we have to do is just make a phone call uh, and then you're going out fishing with them. And that's all it really takes. So don't be bashful about it. And if you feel like you don't know enough, the only thing you got to do is just ask questions, because
yeah,
that's 9 times out of 10, especially if you're just chit chatting with somebody about fishing, they're going to tell you stuff that you just got to be willing to listen to what they have to say, and
Yeah.
you can find out a lot of information. Maybe learn how to do a different technique, a different way, maybe how they're catching fish uh, and stuff like that. It's but just reach out, and we are more than welcome and to help anybody that's out there because again we're wanting to grow this sport as
Yes.
much as anybody and um, so but and I mean also because we got connections with iBass 360 and they have anglers from all over the United States and so
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
again we just have to make a contact, call somebody and say, hey, we've got somebody that's in whatever state. We can take care of you. We're trying to get you to where you can fish.
That's right. I'm going to just grab my piece of paper that I dropped before I moved my computer. So hold on one second.
Okay. So,
All right, because I wouldn't be
yeah,
doing any justice if we didn't talk about the people like iBass 360 and Rob and
yeah,
Eric and all of those guys. And yeah, I mean, we talked about sponsors earlier, and I cannot thank iBass 360 enough for all that they have done for us because they
Yeah.
too have really, really made a big effort through the years in promoting us women and supporting us
Yeah.
women.
yeah.
And we really, really appreciate them. Again, it kind of goes back to if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have met you guys.
Right.
So yep, absolutely. But
Uh, oh, sorry. We had Brent and I said, come on up to Minnesota for some smallmouth fishing.
oh, I would love to do that.
He, he's offered that the past 2 weeks, and he's going to have somebody knocking on his door here pretty soon if he keeps on saying that.
I was gonna
Just
say
don't.
all Brent needs to do is keep mentioning it, and me and Colin's
Oh,
gonna show up at his doorstep.
Somebody's going to be
yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's
So,
right.
but
That's right.
um, now, well, speaking, I didn't mean to cut you off,
That's
Denise,
okay.
but can you let's give you a little time to be able to talk about your sponsors and stuff. The people that is, I mean, because fishing tournaments, especially like the LBAA and stuff like that. I mean, and going and the travel expense, it is expensive. Um, so, can you talk about your sponsors that helps you to be able to go and travel to fish and uh, just so people can maybe if they don't know about them, maybe they can look into them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned iBass 360. They are a promotional company, social, commercial. Rob also owns a bait shop up north and
Yeah.
down in Pennsylvania. Or, F- yeah,
Well, it's
Pennsylvania,
a Pennsylvania, New Jersey
New Jersey
Sport,
state
area.
sport,
line.
Yeah.
He's yeah,
sport fishing outlet.
yeah,
Yes, Sport
sport
Fishing
fishing.
Outlet. And so I again want to thank those guys for all their support through the years. Livingston Lures has supported me. I was actually the first woman pro staffer for Lures 10 years ago.
Awesome, awesome.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm very proud of that. They have supported me and followed me through a decade now, and so very very proud of that. The Yamamotos have supported us. Especially through the LBAA, big sponsors, and now through East Texas Lady Anglers, and we lost Beverly this just recently,
right.
and
Beginning of the summer.
today happens to be her birthday. So happy heavenly birthday,
Uh,
Beverly, today. Yes.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, we really appreciate the Yamamotos and their support. And then this year we had a really big sponsor too, which was Ridgel Septic, which is Pam Ridgel and her husband's company, and they are one of our top sponsors and sponsored a big bass guaranteed payout for East Texas Lady Anglers. And so I'm kind of going back and forth between me personally and East Texas Lady Anglers because
Right.
I appreciate them, no matter
But
where
right.
they're from us. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and then Real Graphics and Sports Threads, they do, all my graphics. They did my boat wrap. They do my jerseys, and all of our T-shirts and everything for East Texas Lady Anglers too. So those are my top sponsors that I really, really, just want to say a big shout out. We've got so many product sponsors too that, I'd be here, just all night talking about all of them. But
Yeah,
we
yeah,
really, really appreciate everything that we get and those people that support us. We want to support them for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, and just I want to say too, real quick, Real Girls Fish. We started out talking about that, and I mentioned, it kind of taken kind of a back seat there for a while I was tournament fishing, and here lately I've really pushed it again because after going to ICAST, for the past several years, I just got so motivated again to, and it was important for me to continue, Real Girls Fish. And so I finally, my hard headed self finally realized that there's not enough of me to try to do everything. So I just brought on a partner with Real Girls Fish, who's going to be
Nice.
kind of in the background, helping with all of the website, new product, all of those
Awesome.
things. And she is in the process right now of revamping the website and putting new products up there. This is one of the new shirts. I just want to say, because I'm really proud of it, and it's one of my favorites. It's really comfy and yeah, all that good stuff. Had to do the push on the new shirt. So, but yeah, this is going to be on the website soon with a lot of other
That
new.
is awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about what Real Girls Fish has to come in the near future because we got a lot of new things in the works there too. And then, of course, I think I mentioned everything about East Texas Lady Anglers. Our last tournament. Oh, let me just say real quick, our last tournament is next weekend. However, one thing that's really excited about that is we partner with the LBAA. So our top finisher of the year qualifies to go fish the LBA Classic.
Oh, that is awesome.
Wow. That's
So
cool.
you don't
That's cool.
necessarily have to travel all over the United States to qualify for the national championship. You can fish one of the local trails and qualify through that way. And so one thing that's really exciting this year is it's going to be interesting. So this next tournament is going to determine who is going to be going to the LBA's
That's
classic.
cool.
And
That's
That
awesome.
is awesome.
yeah, so we're real excited right now. We have one of our new ladies who's fished with us this year, Sue Crochet. She's leading right now, and I think she's just going to be hard to beat. I'm going to tell you, I think she's going to be the one going to the LBA Classic
Awesome.
because she did so well earlier in the season. But we're not going to announce anything till it's done. We got to tally points, we got to catch fish, and make sure that. And then the other thing that's exciting too is on the co-angler side, some of these co-anglers, like last year, my daughter happened to qualify. She had never fished a tournament trail in her life, and she qualified to go fish the LBAA
That's
Classic.
cool. That's
So there
cool.
That
you
is
go.
awesome.
Yeah, so
There's and that door just, I mean, with doing that, then that door just opens, gives them that little. I mean, because I mean that's a big stage to be able to go and be able to fish against. I wouldn't say better. I mean, because there's some hammers that's in the
yeah,
local that just does not want to, just like what you said earlier, that does not want to go to that higher trail,
sure.
but um, but it puts them on that bigger stage to where they're like, well, that's all they need is just that little to be able to have that chance to be able to get on that stage, and then
Yeah.
next thing you know, they're fishing the
Yep.
LBAs, and
And a lot of times that's all it takes is for a platform like you present to be able to take somebody that might not have, and it's not that they want to fish the big trails like the LBAA or, but they don't have the funds, they don't have the means. So a lot of times that's all it takes is a group like the East Texas Lady Anglers to give them that platform
Right,
to be able to fish a local trail and be able to qualify for
yeah,
something
right.
like that. And once they get that platform, then things could open up for them.
And
So
that's exactly why we
you're
did
giving
it.
them the platform to do it.
Yep,
yeah.
that's right. So
So, Chris has a question that says, besides Rayburn, what is your favorite lake to fish?
oh gosh, that's a tough one. And I mean, so many different ones for so many different reasons. I mean,
Yeah,
Caddo is a fantastic lake. It's just beautiful. It's Texas's only lake in the state of Texas. It's 100% natural. I don't know if you've ever been to it, but it's beautiful. I mean, you mentioned Logan Martin before. That to me is one of the most beautiful lakes nationally I've ever been on. I mean,
yeah,
I said Logan Martin. I'm sorry. Old Hickory. Old Hickory is a beautiful lake. Logan Martin, I love Logan Martin too, and we fished a lot of LBA classics there. Yeah, I don't know what it is about that lake. I love it. Gunnersville for the grass and the frog bite.
Yeah.
Bull Shoals because of well, I hate the clarity, but I love the clarity. It's just so pretty.
I'd
But
rather be in murky water all
well,
day long.
yeah, but it's beautiful though. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it is.
I mean, there's just so many, beautiful lakes out there, and you're right, it's so peaceful, and just being on the water, it's hard to pick a favorite. Toledo Bend fishes a lot like Rayburn, so for that reason, I like Toledo Bend too. But I mean, there's just so many, but those are just some to name a few. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
So, well, we've had you on here for almost an hour and a half, Denise, and
okay,
but I mean, we still have 1,100 people on here, so.
all right.
But
I'm surprised Colin
so
made it an hour and a half without talking about how hungry he is.
I I'm telling you, fat boy gets hungry, but time flies though when you're talking about fishing and enjoying
Yes,
the
Yeah,
company that you're with. So,
yeah.
um, so is there a lake, Denise, that you have on your bucket list that you would want to fish?
Oh, it kind of goes back to again different ones for different reasons.
Yeah.
I fished an open a couple of years ago, and my boater I went as a co-angler was a guide on Falcon, and he and I talked that whole day about Falcon and Amistad, and the quality of fish that come out of there, and how if you want to go get a double digit, you talk about Texas fish, but man, down there, I mean, those are some. Oh, and then OH Ivy's been on
Oh,
fire
yeah,
lately.
it
And
has.
that's not that far, so I need to make a trip down there because that has definitely become a bucket list now for me.
Yeah,
I fish fork, on occasion, and that's another one that you can, at any time you could pull in a double digit, and
yeah,
it's a slot lake. It can be tough. It's a love it or hate it kind of lake. But these Texas lakes are hard to beat when it comes to fun big fish.
yeah.
So
yeah.
there's several of them out there. Speaking of Lake Fork, I do want to say something too. I talked about the Sealy Big Bass Splash. We lost Bob Sealy this year as well, and
Mm.
so that was a big loss to the Texas community and surrounding fishing community in general. But the next tournament that they have it's coming up. It's September, like the 21st and 22nd on Fork, and so that's going to be a special tournament. And so, ladies, I encourage you to get out there and fish. One thing that's fun about this tournament is it's an hourly tournament trail, big bass, and you win so many places every hour. But what's so fun about fishing that one at Fork is because of the slot, you can literally win so much money on a 2 pound fish because
Yeah,
if you catch the under, I mean, you could win $1,000 on a 2 pound fish. So it's
yeah.
so much fun, and so that one's coming up. And I did want to say that because it's going to be a special one, especially with us losing Bob recently, and that family has meant a lot to me through the years. It is part of
Well,
the
in the
reason.
fishing community too.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Nicole and Chris and Miss Donna, they were at ICAST too, and I saw them as well. And so I just wanted to mention that too because I would love to see more women out there fishing that, and
Yeah.
that's a perfect one for them to fish. So
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
Oh,
in
yeah.
and that kind of tournament format plays more in effect that it doesn't. I mean, fishing, no matter what, which we talked about this before we came on. Fishing is probably the most level field sport that is out there because fish doesn't care if you're a male, if you're a female, if you're young, you're old. All they care about is what they're eating. And
yep,
if you put that bait right in front of them, and they're going to eat it. So they don't care if you're male, female, old, young, or whatever. So that format, though, fits a lot of people to where, because Norman fished here this past year, Bill Dance does one, the Big Bass Splash here, and Norman fished in it, and he done fairly decent. Won some money off of it, and which there's he fished with Jerry and Hunter Brousseau,
Hmm.
and Hunter won. He was the first fish to weigh in, and he won the juniors as I think he's 12 now, but
Yeah.
he won it, and
The overall for the
the
2 days.
overall, the very first fish that was weighed
Oh,
in,
wow.
he won the whole thing, and I mean, he came out with some change too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's so
but
fun.
but yeah, is Amanda? I take it Amanda is related to you.
Oh, is it Sustaita? That's my sister. Hey, Amanda.
She said,
Colin was probably afraid to say the last name too.
"Oh, I would have butchered it." I mean, I'm not too prideful to tell you I would have butchered it. She said it's enjoyable listening to y'all. You're making me want to try fishing more. So you definitely need to.
Yes.
so, but so I think that she said, "Hey," and so but I think with doing like what Norman and I do with filming and out on the water and stuff, I think I would hate to fish and film in Texas all the time. Just for the fact, and when you said OH Ivy, this kind of brought me to this. What kind of brought it back up for me was Ben Milliken. When was it? A year and a half
Yeah.
ago when
Almost 2 years.
he caught 50 pounds in his best five, and we talked to him at the classic about it, and he said I almost did not post that video because as soon as I did, it just blew up.
Yeah.
And he said people started he says now you can't go out there, and he says you see boats everywhere out there
Yeah.
now. So but
It has
that
gotten a
would be
lot of attention.
it has. And but as a video content creator and stuff, you're wanting to put out that good content, but then like because we fish on Chickamauga and Nickajack, which Chickamauga is is known for big bass, but Nickajack is in between Chickamauga and Gunnersville. So people's eyes turn to Gunnersville or Chickamauga. They kind of don't look at Nickajack, and which we'll go down there and we could smash 125 smallmouth in a day. And, but if you also want to go catch some big largemouth, you can go down south and on Nickajack and be able to do that. But we kind of hate, especially if we're on, we kind of hold our videos a little bit because we're like, I don't. This bite's still going on. I'll show this video after the bite,
Yeah.
and so, but I think I'd be doing that a lot with filming in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
you
so,
guys need to come down to Texas and we should film.
yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely will. We are. Because are you planning on going to the classic this year?
Oh, absolutely. It's in my backyard, so.
Yeah, I was about to say it's in your backyard. So we're going to come down and of course we're going to be part of the media with bass,
Mhm.
and so we'll do media day and stuff like that, and do whatever else we wanted to do down there. And so but we're going to be down there, and hopefully we'll be able to see you there,
Oh, for sure. We'll make it
and
happen.
yeah, and try to go grab some dinner or something.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. Fort Worth is not very far from me at all. So
mm,
I definitely will be there and excited that it's coming back to Texas. So looking
Oh yeah.
forward to it for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I'll just say this, though. I'll be ready for when it comes back east. because we drove 12 and a half hours
Oklahoma.
to Oklahoma, and which it's I think it's 14 hours from us to Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And so I told Norman, I said, I'm probably going to fly this time.
Yeah, that
And
is a long
so,
way.
I don't fly,
but,
so I'll be driving.
Oh.
so, if there's one thing that you can give advice, Denise, for women, or just fishermen in general, it doesn't have to be for women. What would be your advice to help them be able to get into fishing, or even maybe take that next step?
I mean, really just reach out. Reach out to, I guess it depends on what it is they're struggling with, because if there's, if it's questions, ask. There's no,
Yep.
there's no stupid question, I mean, really,
Yeah.
we've all had them. So, if it's getting out there to fish your first tournament, just do it. If, if you're trying to, learn a new technique, social media right now is just incredible. I mean, you could go on social
Yeah.
media to learn anything. You know, YouTube. What somebody said it one day to me, and it made me laugh. YouTube University. I mean, it's like you can learn anything on YouTube
Yeah.
these days. And or there's so many groups now on social media to reach out to. We mentioned them earlier. There's so many different women groups, angling groups. I mean, everywhere. And like I said earlier, if you're not sure where to start, reach out to me. I'll help you.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever the question is, if I don't have an answer, I'll help you find one.
Yeah.
Because I'm that passionate about it, seriously. So I just say, just do it, whatever it is. Either if it's getting out on social media to figure something out, or if it's just taking that first step in a tournament,
Yeah.
or just even going to the bank, and going fishing. If you have no inkling, but you don't know who to turn to help you, reach out. I'm happy to help. If you just want to go to the bank somewhere, I mean, you can go on the what is it called? The map thing to find, bodies of water and things that,
Google Maps and
there
stuff.
you go, Google Maps. Yeah, if you want to just go to Google Maps and look for a place to go fishing, or just Google it yourself and find
Yeah.
out, where you could go
Yeah.
bank fish or whatever. Speaking of bank fishing, and I'm talking about that Lake Fork tournament coming up with the Sealy. That's another cool thing about that tournament. You don't have to fish that tournament out of a boat. You can fish it off the bank.
Really?
It is not
That
required
is
to fish that tournament out of a boat, which is not, that's
that's
unique.
not normal. Yeah.
Right. So, so that's really cool too. So, if
Yeah.
you just want
Yeah.
to go fish off the bank, you can, and you can win huge money, doing it.
Yeah.
So, but again,
You don't even have to burn no gas.
that's right.
So,
So, yeah,
uh, and you kind of hit on it, and I didn't think about it until you just said it. All you really have to do is like whatever lake that you're closest to, go to Facebook and just key in that lake. And there's probably going to be 20, 25 different pages for that lake. And join that page and I mean, we even see it like and I imagine around you too, Denise, that there's people that will post on there saying, "Hey, I'm coming into
yes,
town. Is there somebody that's going to be out that wants a boater?" And and which I'm kind of leery about that because you don't know who you're going to get in a boat with, but you could always ask questions. People are
yeah,
always asking, "What's going on? I'm coming to Chickamauga
mhm,
on this date. What do I need to be throwing?" and stuff like that. And people, you're going to have people have your smart aleck remarks,
yeah,
but for the most part, people are willing to give advice and stuff.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you juice, but they're going to give you enough
the basics.
advice to where you can go catch some fish.
Yeah,
And so,
I see. You're right. I see it all the time. Like you said, I'm coming into town, bringing my family. Would like to take my child fishing. Is there any
yeah,
recommendations? And people will tell you, hey, go to this marina, go there, go. Whether they have a boat or not, they'll give you
yeah,
suggestions
Yeah.
on where to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and how to fish, just like you said, it may not be the juice, but it'll be, the basic stuff that you need to know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, with that being said, we've had you for an hour and 40 minutes. And so, we do want everybody to go check out the East Texas Lady
Yeah.
Anglers. I said it right for the first time. And go check out that Real Girls Fishing.
Real girls fish.
And
Real girls fish.
they and go check out their shirts and all the product and stuff like that. And
So I did
let's
not say this. I do want to say that with the product, she is working on it now. There are a few things on there now, but the big launch is gonna the relaunch with the new stuff. We're shooting for September 15th. So there are some things on there now, but you won't see the new stuff yet until September 15th is the date we're trying to shoot for.
Right.
okay. So, but with that being said, Norman, can you, since we're talking about merch and all that, can you go back over our new what we've got going on again for the people that may not have caught it at the beginning?
Exactly, Colin. And got we finally got our merch up and going. Of course, we actually have more that's actually going to be coming out. But guys, go check out the Deck Talk podcast merch. It's now available to order. We have tees and hoodies, sunbuffs, fishing towels, beanies, tumblers, and we got more coming out that's not out yet. But anyway, go check it out, guys. Uh, Go to www.flotg.com. And once you do that, simply scroll down to Deck Top Podcast. And then you want to click on the link. It takes you right to the Deck Top Podcast merch. And another cool thing, too, is when you make an order for our merch, whatever the price shows that each item is, taxes and shipping is included in your in each order as well. So check out our merch. But we're me and Colin's really excited about getting our merch up and going.
Yeah. And so here pretty soon we're going to have merch in our hands so where we can actually
Yeah, yeah,
be wearing it. But it is
and,
out ready to go. So
yeah.
um but with that being said, Norman, why don't you ask our last question and then
Exactly, Colin.
we'll
And
get off of here.
it's been awesome, Denise, sitting down and being able to tell some fish stories with you today. And again, just like Colin said, make sure to check Denise on social out. Follow her. Follow the East Texas Lady Anglers. And she has a lot of great stuff going on right now. But make sure to check her out. Follow her. And again, we are live every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a new show each week and a new great guest, just like Denise, on each week. As a matter of fact, next week we have Jack Daniels Williams, Toyota Series Pro, will be joining the show. The week after that, and he's actually tomorrow fishing the championship on the MLF Team Series. We have Bobby Lane will be joining the show the week after that on the 12th. He's actually fishing the championship tomorrow, and he's actually fishing teamed up with Jacob Walls, which will be on the 26th along with Dylan Hayes. So him and Jacob is actually in the championship tomorrow. Make sure to catch MLF out online. They're live stream tomorrow and see how Bobby and Jacob does in the championship. But anyway, Denise, we have a question we ask everybody that comes on the podcast. If you were to have one person that you were able to fish with for the day, now this person could be passed away or still with us, who would the person be that you want to have on the boat for the day to fish with, and why would you want to fish with them?
Oh gosh, well, I think that's a given for me. It would have to be my dad. We lost him at 56 years old, a heart attack at Christmas, unexpected, and
Mm.
years ago, and he was my my fishing buddy, and so and of course my brother too, my little brother, but to just be able to spend a day on the water with them again would be just amazing. You don't realize how much you miss it and you appreciate it until you can't have it, and
Yeah.
that's a tough one because he never really got to see me fish tournaments, and oh, I get emotional every time I talk about it. But yeah, to
Yeah,
see how full circle this has gone for me,
yeah,
is really special, and to
Yeah.
be able to have him, with me on a boat again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
To make me laugh, though, I did spend some time with Jimmy Houston over at ICAST this year. Now, he would be a fun one to
Oh,
get a boat with. So,
well,
Jimmy would be an awesome guy.
yeah,
He is
yeah,
a great dude and a great character and
yeah.
funny.
Yeah,
yeah,
so Jimmy, if you're listening,
he may be, he
uh,
may be, because
that would
we,
be a fun one.
uh,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
and I tell you, there's uh, when like going into iCast and Jimmy can be on the other side of the room, in which that place is humongous. But he's got that laugh. Everybody knows when he gets to laughing that Jimmy is in the house.
Yep.
So,
yes,
Yep.
he's a lot of fun.
but yeah. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Go follow Denise and
Yeah.
East Texas Lady Anglers and the Real Girls Fishing, and go support them. And thank you for watching. And Denise, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you,
And
Denise. Have
we're
fun.
gonna have to
Great.
have you come on again.
Yep.
And we will definitely see you end of February, beginning of March at the Classic.
Yep.
Yep.
And so we'll get to show Norman what a real steak looks like when going to Texas.
Oh,
So,
I can't wait. Yeah.
so
Sounds
guys,
good.
Yeah. 20 ounce
thank you so
porterhouse.
much. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank y'all
thank
for
you so
having me.
much.
Thank you again. And anytime, I'm happy to come on and chit chat with you guys and talk
Yeah.
fishing. And yes, we will see you for sure at the Classic.
Yep.
Yep. Denise,
So,
thank you.
guys, hope you live the passion, and we want to see you out on the water, guys.
Always.
Yep. Live the
Bye.
passion, guys.